Sure, Professor Rahan. Hope I am audible to you all.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay. So our first speaker for the day is Mr. Faz Huda. So founder of the Inspiration, the first technology accelerator in Sri Lanka, creating 200 plus companies and 1,000 plus new jobs. Further, he is the co-author of National ICT Capacity Strategy 2007. Further, he is a board member in Global Entrepreneurship Network, and he has founded companies in Sri Lanka, Singapore, and Australia. Further, he is a mentor, a Founders Institute in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and South Asia, and a mentor in Stafford University Seed Program. He has mentored many startups from Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, Maldives, Bulgaria, Netherlands, and so many other countries. So he is consulting on strategy, product market fit, market access, product marketing, innovation, management, and fundraising. So without a doubt, he is a pioneer in ICT industry in Sri Lanka as well as in globe. So without a further delay, I would like to cordially invite Mr. Faz Huda to continue. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Varangana. Am I audible?
Yes, Fayaz.
Yes.
Right. Hi, everyone. Great to be here and be part of this very important program where we try to build entrepreneurs in the country. Let me try and share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Right. So the topic for today, but just like what Professor Rohan mentioned, I am also able to speak in all three languages. So if anybody wishes to engage, please don't feel shy about which language. Yeah, language is just a tool. We should be able to speak freely because we are here for a different purpose. Okay, so let me take this forward. I would like to know a little bit about y'all, right? By the way, Varangana, I think there was a typo in my introduction. Thank you for the generous introduction, but there's a typo. I'm part of the Stanford University program. I'm a mentor there, not Stafford University. Sorry, maybe I typed it wrong in my.
So extremely sorry for that, sir.
So I would like to know a little bit about our audience. Yeah, I think we have about 45 people here today, which is a nice group. We can have a very interactive session, and we can learn. I can learn something from you all. Plus, maybe my hope is that I'll be able to teach you something that is relevant to something that you're working on or a problem that you're facing at the moment or something urgent, something like that, rather than just go through some theories which you can also find on the internet, right? So can I ask everybody to open your chat window on Zoom? Have you all done that? Can you all open your chat? Right. First of all, everybody, hi. Can I see everybody saying hi back to everybody else? Great. Hi, everyone. Hope you all are excited to be part of this program. Right. Next, can you all type your first name and the city that you're connecting from? Let's see where you all are. Where do we have the audience from mostly? Yeah. First name, Colombo, Gampaha, Colombo, Venappur, Kandy, Ampara, Kaduwala, Kandy, Melbourne. Welcome, Miraj. Ampara, Ratnapura, Kurunegala, Gampaha, Ampara. Excellent. So we have a lot of people from out of Colombo, which is excellent. So මම මේ ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කතා කරාට කමක් නැහැ කියලා මම හිතනවා. අවශ්‍ය නම් කියන්න සිංහලෙන් කතා කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. මට දෙමළෙන් කතා කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. එච්චර හොඳට බෑ. හැබැයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට translation වැඩක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඕගොල්ලන්ට මේ අවශ්‍ය දේ දෙන්න තමයි අපිට උවමනා. හරි? Right. Next, can you all type what you do? What do you do? Yeah, are you a student? Are you working somewhere? If you are working, where are you? Are you a government servant? Are you a businessman? Are you having a startup? Mullativ, okay, welcome. Trainer, undergraduate, working, businessman. Anybody? Startup founders, co-founder, working in a private firm, lecturer, employed, associate technical lead. Okay. Okay, we have a startup founder, undergraduate pedagogy, classical, working on a private sector supply chain. Okay. Okay, excellent. Great. Can you all type briefly, why do you want to learn entrepreneurship? In about 2 or 3 words. Lecturer at ICBT, welcome. Why do you want to learn entrepreneurship? Two or three words. People might say, retired from Airflow, planning to start manufacturing related business. Excellent. Priyal, we wish you all the best. We can help you in any way, let us know. Have a solid foundation to run a startup. Scale up the enterprise, which means you already have something. Planning for a startup, improve knowledge. Started your own company, need to improve that. Excellent. Okay. Plan to start own business. Teach my students. Okay. Get the entrepreneurial mindset. Okay. Research to market. Okay. Excellent. Great answers. Now, please tell me, what is your biggest fear in becoming an entrepreneur? Few words. 2, 3 words. Risk, I assume the meaning risk. What is your biggest fear? Taking the first step. Yes, that is very difficult. I understand. Risk and capital. Okay. Risk and idea. Facing the dynamic. Team member selection. Okay. Capital. I'm not feared about anything. Great. You are a fearless person. Managing financial facility. Focus on profit. Okay. I assume you're looking at a social enterprise. Funding and team. Current economic situation. Market ups and downs. Market demand. That's your fear. Yeah. Your fear, this is not about what you think is general, but what is your greatest fear in becoming an entrepreneur? Lead my team. Right. The biggest, I would say, the fear that you would have around all of these different answers is somehow related to some form of risk. Whether it is about financial risk, whether it's about market risk, whether it's another type of risk, it is something to do with risks, right? What is the biggest problem facing a startup? In a few words. Previously, it was about the founder or the person or the individual entrepreneur. Now the question is, what is the biggest problem facing your startup or your business? Country's economic situation, trust and vision. What is the biggest problem for a business, any business or any startup? What is the biggest problem? Survival. Yeah. Why do we not have survival is a good question. Capital. Yeah. Beating the competitor. Very important. Very important. Financial support. Okay. Team support. Excellent. Customer satisfaction. That is a very good point. Customer satisfaction. All of this also, in a way, translates to something to do with some form of risk, right? And in the startup world, we have this concept called product market fit, right? That you build a product that fits perfectly to a particular market, right? And what do you think is the solution to these problems? Any ideas? What do you think is a solution? Few words. Scaling up the business. Yes, very important that you start small, but you need to scale up. Otherwise, you can't grow. Modernize the business or modern business. Idea about the market and client base. A good idea about the market and the client base is very important, which is part of the solution to all these problems. Lack of knowledge of client and market. Yes, very important. I think we are coming to the point here. Providing a quality product. Yes, the product must fit the quality expectations of the market, right? Of your customer. Very important. Very good answers. Any other answers? What if we have a way of reducing the risk and enhancing product market fit? Yeah. And the reason why I went through all these questions is to come to our topic today, which is around, or my topic for the day, which is around market research. And the answer to a lot of these questions that we had just now has some form or dimension related to market research. So welcome to the class today. I hope we'll be able to teach you why market research and how the ways of minimizing risk and find product market fit in your ventures. Yeah. So market research blends consumer behavior and economic trends and confirms and improve your business idea. It's crucial to understand consumer base from the outset. You all mentioned these answers in my questioning, right? And it allows you to reduce the risk. Because if you start engaging on a business scale activity without a proper research, your chances of failure, market failure, financial failure, product failure is all very high. So that is why you will engage in some form of research, some form of learning, some form of understanding your customers, your market, so that you reduce that risk, right? And it helps you in decision making. It helps you to spot potential business opportunities. It lowers your risks, like I mentioned, create relevant promotional materials, which is about targeting to your specific audience. In today's hyper competitive market spaces today, this is very, very important. Understanding how to communicate to your audience, and market research has a lot of information or insights in helping you with that. And it most importantly, when you're trying to, some of the answers that you gave to the questions I asked in the beginning had to do with layering or dimensionality of the problems that you're facing, right? And market research can help you simplify your decision making, because you will have lots of choices. Arakat කරන්න පුළුවන්, මේකත් කරන්න පුළුවන්, මේකත් හොඳයි, අරකත් හොඳයි, is a typical problem that a lot of founders will have. But if you have the research, if you have the insight, you're able to decide, pick which one to implement, which area to work on, which decision is the best for your startup at the moment. So that's why market research is important, and all of you should engage in it, right? So there is this concept of target market, or you have to target a particular market for your product that you're trying to build. There is a concept around what is called demographics and psychographics. What you see on the screen are some of the parameters that you might use to break your market down, right? And the more granular or specific that you can break your market down to and target your product, the better it is for you to understand their behavior. Doesn't mean that you only build the product for that specific market. I'll show you in my next slide. But it is important, especially at the beginning. Somebody mentioned how to take the first step, right? Understanding the customer. These all got to do with, so these are all things that you already know, right? I'm just trying to put these things together so that you all can form some thoughts, and hopefully in the future, you'll be able to go through a scientific process of decision making when you're engaging in your startup. Right? There are lots of examples also on how market research has been used by different people, different companies in decision making, which is best for their brand. Apple is a very famous example where they talk of consumer the experience, right? And I don't know if you all remember. I didn't ask you how old you all were, but the heydays of Apple, the difference between Apple Macintosh and Intel PCs were like night and day. Apple was very vibrant, colorful, cute to look at. The devices were like, very beautiful. And Intel PCs were like very clunky, very industrial, very ugly looking things. Apple focused on consumer experience, the way in which their audience engaged. Intel PCs relied on utility. And because computers were very expensive, and the number of people who can afford a computer was very small, they focused more on the industrial, on universities and, institutions who had large funding, not home PCs. But Apple focused on a different market of creators and people who were in a different kind of creative space, right? And that's the beginning of Apple's start. But then over time, they evolved and they became mainstream and captured a very large part of a market, right? There's also a good case study about how Coke, I think in the 1980s, misaligned their target market and the emotional attachment. They changed the recipe of their drink the Coke original, and they made a big blunder, right? So like this, there are lots of examples that you can learn about how target marketing has helped or hindered, or the lack of knowledge of their target market have made them fail, and so on, right? So please go have a read about this online. So this is a very famous famous graph that you would see in a lot of learning materials. And initially, if you're trying to start on a business, you might have a product which is which can cater to a very large audience, but you might define them. Hopefully, you need to, what is called notching down is very important. When you take the market, let's say if you have 100 people whom you think who can use this product, your targeting from this should try to break it down into smaller and smaller segments, and you should build the first iteration of your product for about 5% of that market. This is just a rule of thumb. It doesn't mean that you need to do exactly like this. Sometimes it might be, if it's a very big mass scale product, it might be even a smaller number like 1%. If it's a little bit more niche product, it might be about 20%. But this is just a rule of thumb that I'm giving you so that you know that you are not trying to serve everybody in the market, right? Because that might be very difficult without a proper understanding and so on. And this is the other main thing is this will help you learn, understand about the market, learn from that market, and build a better product for a lot more people with less amount of risk, right? So this is an understanding that is crucial to make sure that you do not fall between this chasm of death, right? Where lots of people who start, they get an initial, a lot of people don't get started, but then some people who do get started. Yes.
Would you mind removing the chat from the screen and also turning to PowerPoint mode? Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. So right. So let's go to the next one. So in market research, there are different types of data, right? What's called primary data and secondary data. And there are different tools that you might use to collect this data. For primary data, you'll use things like surveys, questionnaires, interviews, focus. All of this information, by the way, you can find out a lot more about online, right? Because we only have about 30 or 40 minutes for this lecture. I will not try to go into anything very deeply. There's a good case study about how Dropbox, when they built a MVP, not build an MVP, they did a video of how the functionality of their product worked, and they got a lot of people to sign up. That gave a lot of confidence to the investors, and then they built the business from there, instead of going ahead and building a very complex, sophisticated product, right? And also there was this famous Microsoft the phone, which missed the target on the primary needs of the market. So like this, there are lots of examples that you can go through, and you can use different tools to collect data. Primary data, somebody is annotating on the screen, I think. Okay, so primary data has some advantages. It is data that you are collecting. Professor, there's somebody annotating on the screen. How do we remove that?
I think this is coming from a mobile phone, most probably.
Okay.
Please continue for us. I'll see what I can do from here.
So primary data is data that you collect for a specific purpose, for your specific purpose, right? And that can be more accurate, it can be more up to date, and you have control. Privacy you can maintain, right? Because you're asking specific people about information. the target problem, you can deal with it, and better understanding of the data because it is meant for your specific purpose. Disadvantages are, and this is why lots of people find it difficult to use primary data, and most likely you will also not use primary data because it's time consuming, it's costly, requires more labor. And if you ask the wrong questions, if you ask leading questions, if you ask loaded questions, you'll get bad answers, which either try to confirm your doubts or confirm your thoughts rather than asking the real problem or the real issues from the target market. So you get faulty feedback, right? But also you will need expertise, some kind of expertise to interpret them, right? Mostly what you might use, which is better for you, better in this is to use secondary data, right? So if you're building a startup or if you're trying to work on a project, work on a business which is related to a specific area, there will, in today's day and age of today's information age, you have so much of secondary data that is available. So I would suggest that you spend some time while you're thinking about your idea, thinking about your startup, how to manage your team, how to fundraise, and all that. Spend a little bit of time, especially in the initial days, on secondary data and trying to understand the different dynamics of the market. This information is publicly available, so you don't have to worry too much about privacy and so on. Only problem is these things might not be specific to your needs. You might not have control over the quality of the data because somebody built it for their own purpose. It can be biased, right, based on somebody's specific requirements it was made. The data might be out of date. This is a usual problem that you have with secondary data. Especially in Sri Lanka, we don't have a lot of data which is specifically, which is produced in a timely manner. You have gaps, but you may be able to synthesize and get to some meaningful results. And the other biggest problem is you're not the owner. So there might be others who might also read this data and come to the same conclusions that you came to, and you might also think about the same kind of solutions, right? Which increases your competition, right? Any questions so far? Any questions? Right. I have only a few more minutes left. So let me try to quickly take you through. So I think I've got a lot of information since we have very little time. So this is basically the ground. The basic level of market research, right? You try to understand your market from primary or secondary data to answer some specific questions that you might have in your mind about something that you're trying to work on, rather than diving straight into building a product, investing in equipment, hiring people, doing all that, right? You try to understand the market, So for example, I'll tell you some things that I did about many years ago when I was first starting out. I wanted to build, those days people used to have a business where we were building company websites was a business that you can get in because there are not many companies doing that. And I, without hiring anybody, without doing anything, what I did was I created some images of what a website can look like. And I used to take this file printed images, photographs, which we graphic designed about websites and all that, and talk to people. I didn't even have a laptop, right? So I would take this to customers and show them, this is what your website could look like, right? And then get the order and then develop the project and then hand it over, right? Use some of my friends to, do the project. So I had no employees and so on. So today, even today, I have a company which is an enterprise resource, an enterprise record management company, and we have 0 employees, right? It's hosted on the cloud. We have whenever we want something, we get people done. We have customers like multinational companies and so on, but with 0 employees, right? And we run that business. We just build them and get the signals. So you don't need to think in a traditional sense about how a company needs to be set up, what you need to have, how you go about doing XYZ. If you can find alternative ways, if you just spend a little time about and understanding what does your customer want, how can you deliver what your customer wants in a cost-effective manner to them and to you, so that you can make a profit running that business, right? And that comes from understanding that customer experience, understanding the market, and also the risks associated with it. So by doing the way that I'm saying, sometimes you might have certain problems, right? So how do you mitigate those? How do you overcome those, right? So these are some of the ways in which you might want to think about how your market, how you serve a particular market. Any questions? I think I have about 5 minutes left. Anything that I can help you with? Any burning issues? Not necessarily to. Okay, so let's even open it up. Any problem that you're facing currently, which I can help you in some way.
Hi, since you are taking questions also as you go, you can go up to 7:45.
Okay. I prefer the interactive method, Professor. That
Yeah.
may be fully because most of this information, if you are little, interested, curious, there's a lot of information online which you can learn. But the real know-how and expertise is hopefully that's something that we can help some of these participants with.
Yes.
Any questions?
Please type your questions in the chat room or ask.
Yes.
Unmute and ask. Yes.
Yeah.
Any language.
ඔයගලන්ට මොන හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් ඔයගලන් දැනට කරගෙන යන දේවල් වල තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් විසඳ ගන්න අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තියෙනවා නම් right. So I can't see the name. Right. So about SWOT analysis, right? So everybody being a business entity, an enterprise, a university, everybody has their strengths, weaknesses. They also have opportunities and threats, right? So there's a lot of material on SWOTs. The question is about, please explain SWOT analysis by using one example, I suppose. right? So there are lots of examples online, but the reason why I'm putting SWOT there is this is not to teach you about SWOT, right? But for you to understand that there is something called strengths and weaknesses that everybody has, and opportunities and threats that everybody has, as an individual, as a business. If you have a child, the child has some things, right? So we need to be open to understand what those things are, so that you can effectively take advantage, right? Any other questions? தமிழ்ல கதைக்க ஓடுமானவங்க அன்மியூட் பண்ணிட்டு தமிழ்ல கதைக்கலாம். I can translate Tamil to Sinhala or English and then help you with it. Professor, should we stop now and then maybe have questions later, or how do you? Now it's 7:40. Any specific things to consider collecting primary data for e-commerce business? Yes, very good question. Let me right.
Has beaten both Amazon and Flipkart and is now the first Indian horizontal e-commerce company to become profitable. So what is it that Meesho did right, which others could not? See, Meesho's business model is significantly different from other players. While Amazon and Flipkart follow convenient first model to appeal to mid and high income groups, Meesho's target market is value-oriented people, for whom factors like delivery time is not a big deal. And this allows Meesho to sell at cheaper prices. See this analysis by Jeffries. For the same product, while Amazon and Flipkart charge rupees 499, Meesho only charges rupees 432. And even for sellers, Meesho is the preferred option, as it charges the least take rate or commission. Basically, win-win for both. Let me know your experience with Meesho in the comments down below.
That was a good question. So for e-commerce market, right? First of all, who is your target audience? What is it that your target audience? What moves your target audience to buy? E-commerce is a very difficult, very cutthroat, hyper competitive business, right? The video that I played, were you all able to see the video?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the example is of an e-commerce for business in India called Meesho, where they look at people who are moved by value rather than convenience, right? And how they this thing. So in terms of collecting data, it's whether, regardless of what type of business it is about asking the right type of question from your market, so that you get the answer to what actually motivates your customer. What is their consumer buying behavior, right? So then you have the ability to provide solutions for their specific need, right? I hope I answered the question. Is there any tools to identify patterns and trends? Because IT trends change very rapidly. Very true. There are lots of tools, but like I said before, your market research is a mix of consumer behavior and economic trends, right? So it's Sankalanak. It's to do with two things, at least two things. right? So your understanding of a gap in the market comes from an understanding your consumer behavior, the consumers' pain points. That comes from talking to consumers, listening to consumers complain about certain things that is there or not there in the market, some difficulties that they have, and so on. And if you want to build something that is for you, you need to be able to differentiate and understand this for yourself. Yeah. Any other questions? Last minute. I hope this was useful. There's a lot of information on comparative analysis, consumer behavior, what type of things consumer behavior is motivated by, rational versus irrational or emotional decision making, and lots of examples. Please go and do some reading. And the main thing is, how do you mitigate your risks, assess your risks, and what can you do to mitigate the risks? And what I would tell you is, when you're asking questions from your market, don't ask loaded questions. Don't ask the questions to which you already know the answers to. Rather, be open and genuine about asking a question to understand what you actually want, right? And the other main thing is, test before you go and build or invest or commit too deeply into anything, right? Okay, somebody wants me to share the presentation. I think I can do that. But please understand, this is not a comprehensive market research course. This is something that I put down to so that I will have some notes to share with you while I'm doing my presentation, right? In conclusion, right, market research is very important. It is about minimizing your risks, finding product market fit, testing before you build or buy or invest or hire. So please engage in some substantial market research. And also, it is not a one-time activity, right? It is something that you have to continuously engage in. And market research is like a guiding compass. It gives you direction. So make use of it, right? I hope you all the best. Professor, if there are any questions or so on, I'll hang around
Okay.
and answer. But thank you very much for the opportunity. Wish you all the very best in your endeavors. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Fayaz. That was really inspirational. I think everybody understand this is not a topic that we can cover or teach or learn within 45 minutes. Everybody here, I think, understand that. But what is important is that Fayaz laid out the map, and he pointed out why it is important to do a market research. And he also explained you some ways to do your market research, maybe by asking few questions, running an app on the web and get customer feedback. So, and also get some data already available. So I think you have this compass kind of thing, market research as a compass to guide you. Please consolidate this, whatever you learned today, and we will make all the resources available on the website itself so that you can download and read. Fayaz will share his documents. We will make it available on the website so that it's a one-stop shop. You go to the website, download and learn. And of course, you may have a lot of questions. Put it in the chat room during the session. Fayaz can actually answer some of the questions in the chat room, or even later, he will provide you answers by email. Again, thank you very much, Fayaz. It was so interesting the way you presented everything. I think participants had a really good time today, first half of the session today. Thank you again, Fayaz. So,
Thank you,
you're welcome. So, there is another related session coming up. That is customer identification. Fayaz's session today is connected with customer identification later. Don't miss that one. Then you get the full breadth of that. Now, I think, Waranga, it's time to introduce our next speaker.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Professor Rohan. Let me share my screen. So our second speaker for the day is Dr. Dilhan Sampath Jayatilaka. He's a sales, marketing, business development, and general management professional and carries wealth of experience in various industries. Currently, he serves as Chief Marketing Officer of Arogya Life Systems Lanka Private Limited. Further, he is the Chief Operating Officer at Dreams Consolidated and Chief Officer Business Development and Marketing for Scribit Private Limited. Further, he is the Secretary of Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing and Governing Council member of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. He has obtained his PhD from Preston University, USA and MBA from Vinayaka Missions University from India. And he holds honors degree in Bachelor of Arts on Marketing Management offered by University of Wolverhampton in UK. Further, he is a fellow member of United Kingdom Association of Professionals, Institute of Professional Finance Managers of UK, and Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. So without a doubt, he is an expertise in marketing. So without further delay, I would like to cordially invite Dr. Dilhan to continue the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Varangana, for that wonderful introduction. I didn't expect such an introduction anyways. And first of all, I'd like to thank Professor Rohan also for giving me this invaluable opportunity to address this wonderful audience. And before that, I will go through my session because I know it's limited time that we have. So indeed a pleasure to be seeing all of you. Of course, though it would have been great to do a physical session with a very interactive manner, but instead, of course, thanks to technology, though, we are able to at least meet and discuss in this manner of something worthwhile, of course, on Sunday evening. So welcome all of you to my session. And I believe you may have accessed the slides because I have sent it before the session. Anyhow, I'll share my screen. So my talk today is going to be on pricing and ROI. So basically, on a Sunday evening, I don't know whether it's an interesting topic to studying and then finding jobs. So we were told that you need not be confined to a job till you retire. You all must look at possibilities of being your own boss. So then this word slowly came up, entrepreneurship. But that's many years ago. Today, entrepreneurship is a word. It's beyond its meaning. It's a way of life. It's a actually an area of study. A plethora of studies are there offered by various institutions and universities on entrepreneurship. So in our times, lecturers made it, as a significant thing that any of the students wanted to become entrepreneurs. It was a major thing. Today, after about 15 years, sorry, everyone wants to become an entrepreneur. There are so many people, I'm sure some of you are purely genuine entrepreneurs. Some of you must be employed somewhere else and trying to become entrepreneurs. Some of you must be employed and thinking where to take a start. So there can be two categories of individuals in this audience. So in entrepreneurship today, it's more than being your own boss. Today, it goes way beyond to things like how you can develop a business that will not only generate profits, a business that will be sustainable, a business that will be a serious economic contributor to a market, to a country, to an area, a business where you provide employment to less privileged people, or maybe you provide opportunity and employment to individuals who are trying to get out of a country but to keep them in a country. Sri Lanka is an example. So likewise, many arguments are there. So we became fascinated with entrepreneurship because we realized about 7-8 years ago, a lot of tech startups started emerging. Basically, the IT companies. Many people who are qualified in designing software started up with few individuals together, 3-4 people, slowly started trying to build softwares. They slowly went into international market using their connections. And of course, many contributed to this. So slowly, this tech environment, IT environment became a way of life for many people who wanted to pursue entrepreneurship. Then again came COVID. Then people, some lost jobs, and some found jobs later on, but some decided they will become entrepreneurs after that. Some people are still not working for anyone else after COVID, and they have become their own bosses, rather they have become entrepreneurs. So basically entrepreneurship is a risk-taking affair. Anyone who are doing to, even in my case, I am also partly an entrepreneur. So I have a risk taken. I have a staff to pay a salary at the end of the month. I have people waiting to get a profit share of my business. I have people to make payments at the end of the month. There's a responsibility. So basically, the entrepreneurship is a very responsible affair comparing to usual employee in a company. So this is basically the entrepreneurship. It's not only creating a business. It's basically vastly, if you take, you become your own boss and take life into your own terms. But added to that, there's responsibility. There's an investment in terms of time, effort, and money. You have to be responsible, and you have to keep in mind that there are people waiting to get benefited, get money, salaries, wages from you. Just like you work in another company, getting a salary, there are people waiting to get the same from you. So basically, in a nutshell, entrepreneurship can be described in a manner that we can simply understand. So going a little beyond that, doing a business. So what I'm trying to do is to make it simple as possible, because is though it talks about costing, pricing, and ROI, it's not an accounting session. It's a session, a talk that I want to make it very simple so that uh, anyone from any given background, irrespective of their study uh, forte or the qualification, are able to understand in the simplest manner what business is going to be and what this costing and pricing is all about. The purpose is actually, I think the whole exercise is about giving more opportunity for people to groom themselves as successful entrepreneurs rather than making noticeable that it is a very difficult thing and you should be discouraged. No, it is about encouraging people. So of course, I will for a moment off my camera because I think I have a slight signal lag. So I think my reception will be better without the camera. That is fine. So when you are going to do a business, first thing that would come into mind is that how much of an investment, what is the amount of money that I will have to set aside to start this business. Particularly the ones who are working and wanting to start a business will have this question, because you are going to invest in something extra to what your monthly expenses are already. Someone who is not working, someone who has family background, the parents or brother, sister would invest, will have a little worry on it. But then you need to be giving a feasible case study for that investor to be convinced. And if you are having zero, you are just getting out of university, or if you're just out of school, but you have a lot of skill, you know that, and you have identified that you can do certain things, and you want to make a business out of it. So that also is a area where a category of people would belong to in this audience. So likewise, first thing is evaluating the cost. Of course, before evaluating the cost, you have to consider the market. We'll come to a little later because that little vast So the discussion I want to flow it, so I got this costing and pricing prior to that. So if you are trying to do a production, develop something, manufacture something, or even if it is service, you need certain things which are principles. These things belong to either material, labor, or overheads. It has to be in any of those three categories. Materials are like the raw material, like for an example, if you are trying to open up a tailor shop. And before that, I must tell that now people believe that when you say entrepreneurship, when you say startup, it has to be something to do with IT, technology. No, it's not like that. We got obsessed with technology and information technology because many startups came with IT background. And in Sri Lanka, people watch so much of IPL, and you saw various startups on cable TV sponsoring IPL, which are all with a technological background, like the Byju's, LMS, Learning Management, PhonePe, Dream11. All of them have a app, and all of them have a technological background. So people had this notion that okay, startups, entrepreneurial, IT. No, it's not like that. If you are starting a tailor shop, yes, it's an entrepreneurship. It is a business, and you need fabric, threads, buttons, zip hooks, all that, machines, shelves, these things as materials. So materials are basically predominantly there's a overhead part also in it, but considerably the raw materials that you require to produce what you're going to produce. And if you're starting a cleaning company, you have people, of course, that is labor. You have the baskets, detergent, brooms, all these things, equipment to make sure that you have the necessary accessories to provide you a cleaning service, cleaning uh, facilities. It could be even something else like a boutique or a restaurant, coffee shop. Now, coffee shops, restaurants also came into limelight upon COVID. Chai, the guy who started originally, is a pilot who lost his job. Now he's back again. If I'm not mistaken, he's a pilot, but Chai Wala is still in operation. And there are many Chai Walas in town. I think one golf is there are two, Marine Drive there are a few, and you can see many Chai Walas on the duplication road. There are a few. So people have come up with ways and means of deriving themselves and becoming entrepreneur. So material is number one. So if you are becoming a chai wala, if you are going to make tea, then it's milk, sugar, water, tea, all that. Then obviously you need labor, human resource. Keeping labor aside as a word, you need human beings, human resource. So if you are having a cleaning company, you need janitorial staff for that purpose. If you're having a tailor shop, you won't be able to do entire stitching for yourself. You may need one or two people. So those are labor, human resource. Then probably if you are starting a cafe, restaurant, coffee shop, you need waiters, cooks, things like that. I mean, those caliber. So there is always a human aspect related. So either it's material, labor, then comes overhead, such as business registration, the building rent, the machinery, which are capital investments, overheads, and advertising and marketing related expenses, social media, all these things. So likewise, there are significant components of cost. Even though we talk about a segregation of three, there can be many attributes related to these three segments. Materials, there can be 50. Labor, there can be 4 or 5. Overhead, there can be about another 10 aspects to look at. So altogether, there is a significant investment. This cost is your investment. So people, thing is, want to make it less uh, as much as possible in terms of cost, because at the start of a business, The thing is, people usually, the common mistake that we see when it comes to individuals who are wanting to become entrepreneurs is that they believe they need to do a job that is very less costly because they are not sure of what the future is going to be. Not because of another COVID wave will come or economic crisis would come, because they are not sure whether they're able to do it. The ground rule is, if you are not confident enough to have faith in yourself, do not get into business. Do not become an entrepreneur. Do not even think about it. Because being an entrepreneur is all about your self confidence. Because not to forget, there are people behind you working with you that you need to give that confidence. If you do not have that confidence, better not get into it because you are going to jeopardize your money, time, effort, plus other people who are going to trust you as well. So leadership is a critical component in entrepreneurship. Other thing is that when we talk about entrepreneurship, people forget the fact that you are leading something. You become money oriented, you become money minded, and you forego your ability. You don't keep faith in your ability. You always believe that there is tendency to fail. Well, I may not be successful, never know what will happen. Those things. Easily you get bogged down. That's a very common problem that most of the startups have. Many startups we can see successful, but there are multiple to that which have become failed, stopped halfway due to various reasons. Also, other thing is the one that we see with individuals who are employed and wanted to become entrepreneurs. What happens is sometime afterwards, after a short while, when they start this concept idea in that idea generation stage for their business, they find employment somewhere else with better perks. So they feel, okay, why not I take this job and try it later? So then your idea gets a little deviated from being entrepreneurial. They go behind that extra money that they can earn by working again instead of starting the business because you're already in a job, you're in a comfort zone, you get more money. Suppose you get a offer with another 100,000 plus, you feel okay, comfortable, more money, I can do many things, let's keep it aside. These common dilemmas we see if you talk to 20 young people. I mean, of course I'm also in that young category, I believe. At least for now. So this problem exists. So again, for entrepreneurship, there is no age limit. You don't need to be below 25 years or 40 years to become entrepreneurs. KFC started when the person was 65 plus. So it has no age that is given as a guideline. After this age, you are not qualified to become entrepreneur. Nothing like that. You can do it. So in considering what you are going to do, you have to be mindful that it has cost component which are either belonging to materials, labor, or overheads. That being said, now we have to move on to customer. So customer segment is important. We can in length talk about segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So those things will take a lot of time. So I uh, found something which will boil it down to a language that all of us can understand without a problem. So one thing is, now you have an idea, you have to identify where you are going to cater it to. Software, totally different what industries you are going to cater to depending on the skills of your developers. If you are going to start a coffee shop, what type of a coffee shop is that? Certain coffee shops are purely coffee and short eats, things like that, a place for chit chat. Some coffee joints are designed as workstations. You can take a coffee, you can stay the whole day, no problem. You have plug points everywhere. Plug your laptop, you can work. Example, you can have plenty of places in Colombo. I don't want to mention name. There are plenty of places like that. And then such, I mean, I just said two things: demographics, comparative intelligence, budget. motivation, status, psychological susceptibility. These are few factors that you need to understand in general in considering who are going to be your customers. Who are the customer segment is something that you need to have in mind at the point of deciding what business you are going to do. We spoke about the cost factor to make the flow a little easier. This is the important thing. What's the gender, age, location, income, social status, class, things like that, demographics. See, for an example, uh, if you are looking at opening up a pastry shop in Batramulla, your pricing will be little upscale than in a pastry shop you are opening in somewhere like Kadwala. Because you know, by demographic variables, there is a tendency for people with a higher income level, social status, and class are living in that vicinity of Batramulla. Simple as that. So demographics can be a factor. Similarly, if you're opening up a tailor shop in one golf face, which is going to have a huge overhead cost, and with the subset of people that are going to walk to a tailor shop versus having a tailor shop in Moratuwa market. There's significant difference in the demographics. That is one consideration. Intelligence of competition. Sorry. What are the competitors offering? Are there any other? Sorry. Are there any other tailor shops? Are there any other cafes around you? What are their prices? What type of people walk in those places? What are their ambience? How does it look inside? Is it very upscale in terms of interior decoration, or is it ordinary? Is it like a small dosa kade in the market? How are the competitors? So when it comes to competition, people always do this mistake of neglecting what the competitor does. We believe that we do the right thing always without finding information on what my competitor is doing next to me. Because when they know that you are coming into the same vicinity, they know that there's a competitor. But what you do is you think you're going to do everything perfectly, let the competitor do whatever they want. No. People use things like mystery shopping to see what competitors are doing. They don't know. You are just walking in and seeing what's happening. So competitor intelligence is very important, including minute details such as price, how the seats. For an example, if you are doing a restaurant, pastry shop, coffee joint, something like that. If you are doing a tailor shop, if you are doing a retail store, like a small silver card in a town, you are starting a retail store. How are the prices in the most famous, the popular retail shops in the area? People do that. So when you become that retailer, when you become that entrepreneur, your thinking has to be different. So comparative intelligence is very important. Budget. How important is the price of an item when they make a purchase? So same example, if you are doing something in Batramulla, you know what the pricing categories are. You do a small study and see what are the budgets that are people spending versus you do something in Kadwala. What are the budgets that are going around? So similarly, along with the demographic variables, the spending pattern, spending habits, the budgets, average, case size are important information. I'm generalizing the talk, so I can't be, I won't have the luxury of time to pick different industry per se, but I'm generalizing the budgets of the people who are supposed to be your end user. Motivation, do they prioritize price or convenience when making a purchase? So these are the supermarkets came into perspective. Convenience. There are apps that we use for, say, channeling a doctor. There are two prominent apps in the country. I will not mention names. What's the motivation? Do you walk to the hospital to make an appointment, Do you take the hassle of a phone call, wait until the receptionist or the call center person answers, transfers it to relevant department and gives you the status of doctor availability, or whether you use the any of the two apps available and make that doctor channeling conveniently? What is the motivation for people to come to you? Why do people go to supermarket instead of a retail store in the town, which can be relatively less in price? Sometimes it can be more, but most it is less. Why won't a person go to a weekly fair, the Satipola, instead of going to supermarket? So what motivates, what teases a consumer, whether it's you or you other competing player? Then status, brand name, the product, particularly the brand name and the popularity, and how we are going to run your campaign. Basically, if you are starting a new business, you are not popular. Suppose you are a celebrity in the country, you starting Kottukade, you become a star overnight, people will start coming in, like the recent examples on social media. If not, then how you are going to do? Then you have to design a significant social media campaign to make sure that you reach the right audience. It depends on the brand. It can depend on the product that you're offering. It can depend on any affiliation that you would have, like you make a celebrity a brand ambassador, all to do with that. But then it considers an investment, so those things also need to be taken into consideration. So all these things account at the end for that cost status. Then psychology. Are the people preferring to buy a product priced at $10 or $9.89? We call it in our language barter pricing, right? 999 cents, 990, those prices. Psychologically, people have a slight advantage to consider. Okay, it is lesser than that threshold. It may not suit all the products. It may not suit a cup of tea, it may not suit lunch, it may not suit a dress, but for certain products, it may be the case. I'm sorry if you hear a background noise, there's a heavy rain, so sorry about that if there is background noise. So these are the things that you need to understand in the consumer. So if you do understand all this and you consider the costing, return on investment is a very basic formula. Basically, it's about the gain. The gain from investment means the net income or the profit for the year. You can do the ROI formula using the net income or using the profit that you gain minus the cost of investment, which means the investment, the amount you spent, divided by the cost of investment again, multiplied by 100, gives the percentage. So cost of investment refers to total amount you invested through labor. When you go to this slide, overheads and materials, that's the cost that you invested or you had to incur to start this business. You have a gain from that investment. By spending that money, you gain something, which can be the net income if you're calculating on that basis, or it can be the profit if you're calculating on the profit basis. You might minus that cost of investment, divided by the same cost, multiplied by 100, you have the investment percentage. Generally, we say your ROI has to be about 28% some time ago. Now it has come up to about between 32 to 35%, because otherwise you can always keep your bank money in the bank and earn the interest. So the golden rule is that used to say, the professionals used to say ROI has to be about 28%. Today it has come to between 30 to 35. There can be different calculations based on different countries, on different markets, but generally in Sri Lanka, that's what the uh, thumb rule we practice for. Otherwise, the purpose is, otherwise, if you don't earn that much, you can jolly well keep the money in a bank and enjoy that interest or in any other financial instrument instead of taking this entrepreneurial risk and investing in a business, considering all these factors. Now, all this can be there. What about the pricing? Pricing has to have a strategy. The pricing you can't do just because you have a product. You can't just think this is what I want to earn and this is the price. Certain prices are based on the value. It's based on the perceived value. Like a Ferrari, there's a perceived value to it. According to what the customers think your product is worth. The price of a Toyota versus price of a Ferrari, price of a Nissan versus price of a Lamborghini, value based pricing. Gold, if you see a necklace at 1,000 rupees saying it is gold, you will not believe it because you are sure a gold necklace cannot be bought at rupees 1,000. But if someone tells you this is a gold necklace, it is 100,000, then you would believe, okay, gold is expensive. There's always a perceived value for certain products. There's a value-based pricing. So if you are a new business owner, you are an entrepreneur, you are putting a product to the market, you make sure there's a perceived value that you are creating to the minds of the customer. For that, there's a price. So if you are having a store or a shop or a cafe which has very nice interior decorations, very nice atmosphere, and looks upscale, obviously your products are priced a little higher than the others. Other places, your competitors in the same area which are low standard will have a lesser price, of course. There is a value-based price. You have to see whether you are going to charge the value-based pricing or any other pricing apart from that. Or you can charge a competitive pricing. You are setting your prices based on what the competition is charging. You check all the prices of the food outlets in the area. There are 10 outlets. All of them have patties. Your patties is the lowest. You go lower than the lowest in the market. You have a tailor shop. You are stitching trousers. There are 5 tailor shops in the area, in the town. Cheapest trouser is 600. You are stitching at 550. You can put a small board says trousers 550. People will come trying to stitch. Sometime later you can increase. There is again a strategy for that. It's a competitive pricing. Based on the competitor, you do that. But then again, you are upscale outlet. You are doing upscale business. You can't be pricing based on the competitor. Consider that and low because you have a higher overhead cost. Then you will obviously be higher. Again, you consider depending on the situation how to price. Then there's a thing called price skimming strategy. Price skimming strategy, uh, you basically try to skim through the market. Basically, you want to obtain a larger portion in the market by skimming through the price by introducing a pricing that will skip through the market. You have a normal ordinary pricing, it can be probably a little higher. Over time, you lower the pricing. If you know about this Reliance Jio product in India, which is the market leader now in the mobile communication. So they gave free of charge for I think 9 months. Then they started charging a price. I mean, started charging. Before that, they gave free. There are some case studies that it is a skimming strategy. More than a skimming, it's about competitive pricing because by giving free, you made sure that all your competitors are at a problem. Then you started charging slowly. People had no problem, though the usage became a little less. People got used to paying because they have to pay if they obtain the services of other mobile operators. So you can, in a situation like this, you remember many years ago, Airtel came to Sri Lanka and they offered free SIMs. A lot of queues in front of Airtel outlets. They did comparative pricing. Based on what the competitor is charging, you are giving free zero. So price skimming, sometimes you can relate it to also, but skimming is generally you skim through the market, trying to obtain a greater share in the market by reducing the pricing, though you were at a standard pricing sometime before. Then the simplest pricing strategy called cost plus. You have a cost, then you keep a margin which is adequate that you feel. There you go. Your cost is 50. You want to keep a 10% margin at that 10%. There you go. There's the price. Cost plus pricing. But then cost plus pricing, uh, usually with the competitive business environment today is difficult to practice because with the inflation world over, there's a currency crisis. With these things in place, we have to be very careful. So the cost plus that you think would suffice may not be actually helping you to survive in the market, because the cost, the overheads can become increasingly higher when time goes on. So cost plus is advisable to be very vigilant before adopting this strategy. Well, I'm reaching out the last few minutes. So then there is penetration pricing. When it comes to penetration pricing, uh, you try to penetrate the market because you are new. Most of the time, entrepreneurs are new. As I said, if you don't have a name made already by doing something else or by doing another business, you are new. To keep your foothold, you have to penetrate the market. The problem today with the penetration pricing is the moment you have very low price, people believe it's not. In Sinhalese, we say "Labha baduwe hilak," right? So if there is low, there's an issue. Price is low, there's an issue. That's a concern. So therefore, people do not want to be the cheapest in the market. That's not a tag that most businesses are not comfortably. They don't want to be the cheapest in the market today, because the survival, the sustainability of your pricing may not be possible because of the volatility. So if you're starting a business in 2023, 2024, if your expectation is market penetration may not be the best, provided the fact that our business environment is this volatile in time to come. So other thing is, if you are successful in the market penetration pricing, you may need to have customers on top of the mind, having your brand. If you top of the mind means if you are asked to tell 4 brand names related to your same industry, you are in one of those. So there is a lot of mind share. Example, 4 toothpaste brand: Signal, Glowguard, SR, Superwiki. Okay, Signal is there. Likewise, so penetration pricing will be successful if you are loyal customer base. More B2B market, do penetration pricing. B2C, business to consumer, we need to think twice, because if you fail to have a considerable loyal customer base, you will not be sustaining in this business. Then, of course, economic pricing, mostly in the commodity goods sector. It's the price of a product that is cheaper than the competition and make the money back with increased volume. This is called the volume business. Some of the commodity goods, like fast moving commodity goods like potatoes, onions, dal, what do you call dry fish market, good examples economic pricing. Sometimes a 20 feet container of onion goes at $30 shipping cost. That's cheap, because there are a lot of containers coming into country, and you gain more containers coming in, more volume, which means you earn higher return to a lot of turnover of container. That's a serious example, but I said because that's type of products. And also with economic pricing, you have a thing called dynamic pricing, which may match the demand of the item. Onion, potatoes also the same, like our common example, rice. Prices change. You constantly change your prices. Like this commodity goods, you change prices from week to week, month to month. Sometimes during few days time, the prices change. Eggs, because of the demand, and because of the situations, demands change due to certain lack of raw material, due to lack of transportation, due to lack of various things, the situations change, prices go up. So economic and dynamic pricing are mainly seen with commodity type business. Other businesses also you can see, but commodity business it is predominant. So there are several pricing strategies to choose from: value-based, competitive, skimming, cost plus, penetration, economy, and dynamic. So these strategies are purely based on what product or service you are going to offer, what product or service are you that you are going to be providing to which target audience. So based on that, you have to make that decision. So we can be talking for hours and hours, but when you practically try to do it, it is completely different. It's a very practical exercise that you have to do for yourselves as entrepreneurs, and it's not as easy as we speak. So my message to you is that it's a responsible affair. You need to take that responsibility of becoming an entrepreneur, because a lot of challenges are there, like this, as we spoke, when it comes to particularly the fact that there's investment that you need to do for yourself or invested by someone else that you are responsible for in return. So these things have to be considered more than anything else, and you have to have that willpower and the motivation to do so and to become a successful entrepreneur. Though you have all these technical aspects in place, you need to have all that to become successful. So on that note, I will conclude. If there are any questions, I am willing to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dilhan. There are a couple of questions on the chat. If you can see it, Dilhan.
Yeah, I'm just reading through.
All right. From Priyalal Jayasundara
Yeah.
and Hevapati.
As the question on ROI and IRR, then how to calculate the value of time of a person, the value of skill of a person, how to calculate the cost of investment. Okay, let me read through this few and try to answer one by one. Right. Okay. Start from the last one. Factors to select the most suitable pricing method. So as I said, it depends on the product, depends on the market that you are going to offer it to, and at the same time considering the investment that you have, the capacity. So we may need to be doing a business to the most what do you call lucrative market, and we may be developing the we think it to develop the best product, but if you don't have the capacity to do so, then we are again laid back. So if you are going into, I mean, when it comes to startups, very rarely someone would go to a startup from a basic level to doing commodity related business or something like that, as you spoke. But most startups today are related to digital marketing, software, technology, uh, apps, education, things like that. So for those, the common startups, uh, again, now if you take education, many people are with learning management systems, and now it is become a little dried out because physically we can move out now. So that's again a question. It always depend on the type of business that you want to enter, as well as the market going to cater with your capability. So we may not be able to tell now exactly which method to use, but if you are thinking of a particular industry to get it, my email is there. I can just type it here. Write to me, then we can decide on that. I'll be able to help you on that. Then next one is, which pricing method is best for service marketing? Well, service marketing, you mainly see, if I am to think, what we commonly see is value-based pricing, because for services, it's something that is not tangible. You can't touch and feel and see. So you think this is the value that you're offering. Based on that, you set a value for that. When you become prominent in that industry, then you have a name for yourself. The price can be higher because you know there's a significant value to what you do. That's how you have become successful. So mostly service related, value based, in my experience. Then next one, right? Okay, how to calculate the value of time of a person and the value of skill of a person in order to calculate the cost of investment, right? Value of time and the value of skills is something that you can derive by talking with the person at the interview stage. So you would know that if you are recruiting a person on a shift, say 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift, then there's a amount that you think the person would value on the time contribution. Then what skill you are going to employ the person for. So there is always a market demand, I mean the market rate for that, for all these jobs that are in organization. For an example, say a call center, if you are starting a BP operation with 5 people, you have 8-hour shift, you need 3 people on average to cover 24 hours if you are catering to different time zones in the world. So 8-hour shift will have a person to answer calls, reply emails, and give feedback to customer. Will have a standard industry rate. I'm not sure what are the rates are, but they are standard BPO rates. So based on that, you can decide, okay, this is what you're going to pay. Whether you're going to pay lower average than average in the industry, or same in the industry range, or above the average in the industry. Sometimes these BPO businesses come from, obviously, from overseas markets because their cost of operation is significantly less. That's why they're offering it to country like Sri Lanka to do. So labor is cheaper. So then based on that, sometimes those clients may be willing to pay extra. So you can always pass on that benefit to the employee, or you can retain your margin higher and keep them at industry rate. And then based on that, you can have your cost of investment covered. Then the important question, IRR versus ROI. So there are two, I mean, these are popular and the most meaningful ways of measuring. So ROI and IRR. So return on investment indicates the total growth. Total growth of the business is measured from the ROI, return on investment, beginning to end of the investment, say in that financial year. Internal rate of return, IRR, identifies the annual growth rate. So ROI talks about the total growth from beginning to end in a quarter, annual, the growth.
Dilhan, you're frozen. All right. I think Dr. Dilhan is having technical difficulty. He mentioned earlier it is raining over there. That might be the reason.
Sorry, this is
Yep.
Fayaz.
Yes, Fayaz.
Just until Dilhan comes back,
Yep.
I thought I'd just share something about this pricing.
Yes, please.
There was a startup that I was helping. They were into customized SMSs, right? Personalized.
Sorry, I lost connection,
Yeah,
Professor.
Dilhan's back. Okay, all right, good. Dilhan, I was
Are
just
there any other questions?
Dilhan, I was just sharing an example that experience that I had on pricing while you were stuck.
Yeah.
There was a startup that I was helping, which was into personalized SMS messages. Those days, personalized SMS messages were priced at 1 rupee from the operator, and these people used to get a discount, and they used to sell it at 1 rupee because the customers they felt that the customers won't be willing to pay more money than what they can buy from the operator, the mass bulk SMSs. But for about 6 months, I was telling them that there was a value addition that they were doing, and they should price the product higher than what the generic SMS was offered from the operator. But they were very hesitant. They were very reluctant. They were very skeptical that the customers would pay. So they for about 6 months we used to have back and forth, and then they would not increase the prices. But then at one point, because I was pushing them, they doubled the price. So from 1 rupee, they started charging 2 rupees, and their sales grew by 4 times, right? So about 400% growth in their sales happened, because customers also associate price with value, right? So you should not be afraid. I'm just giving an example of something that happened to me. You should not be afraid to test with your pricing, but always keep in mind what is the value that you're providing to the customer. So if you have more money, you have money to spend on R&D, you have money to spend on marketing, you have money to spend on people. If you have less money, you have less to do. Think about what is best for your particular company, your particular product, and especially the value that you provide to your customers. Sorry, Dilhan. So I thought I'd interject while you
No problem. Thanks, Fayaz. You did
Yeah.
the right thing. In fact, I lost connection due to rain.
All right. Any more questions, please?
If there are questions, you can always write to me. Then I'll be happy to answer those and work with you.
Excellent. So, all of you guys, we have collected experts in the field for specific topics. It's like you are learning from the gods, right? On that respective area. So, don't miss out any of these sessions. If you miss, please watch the videos. The videos will be available following the morning. So, yesterday's video is now up on the web. This video will be on the web by tomorrow morning. And your questions, keep sending your questions to the common email I have shared with you. We have a separate scientific officer to check on these questions and divert it to respective resource persons and get the questions answered. Right. So today we had a very successful session um, because of these resource persons, Fayaz and Dr. Dilhan. So I'm really thankful for these two gentlemen for coming over online, sharing their resources, expertise, and knowledge in the field. I think the participants, you guys, seriously benefited about the market research, the importance of having a sense of market that you are going to tap into, whether it's a small market or a big market, and also how to go about putting your product into the customers and how to set prices and all that. What are the factors you need to be mindful about, not to make mistakes. All right. Of course, there's a challenge, risk all the time. You are keeping it in your hand as an entrepreneur. So that is the name of the game, right? Without risk, you cannot do that. If you want to do entrepreneurial activities without any risk, it has not happened in the world so far, at least, right? So it will never happen, I guess. So therefore, taking this particular risk is important, but it has to be a calculated risk. So that is why all these um, sentiments, advices are extremely important, so that you can do your homework, you are prepared to move forward, and you know what is the risk you are taking, and you know what the feedback is telling you about the market and pricing and all that. So with that, I would like to conclude today's session, and I hope to see you next Saturday, 7 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining in. Have a good night.